What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, yesterday, Nintendo had a couple of updates, one for Mario Strikers Battle League and the other for the eShop store closures with the 3DS and the Wii U, which got a lot of people talking online. We'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Advanced Wars Reboot Camp 1+2. It was delayed earlier in the year, and unfortunately, it looks like it may have been delayed a bit further than we were hoping. And we're also going to be talking about PlatinumGames, as there's a lot of questions now around this studio after their latest hiring for leadership is coming from Nintendo. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with a new Yakuza game. At least that's what it appears, with some screenshots and video that just kind of got out there during a studio tour on YouTube. You can see some of that here. This is after an MMA fighter kind of toured the RGG studio, and after going through some of the workspaces, saw some familiar looking characters on screen from Yakuza Like a Dragon. We can see Ichiban there with a bit of a different hairstyle. And now people are thinking, wait, this looks like they're working on the next Yakuza game, considering about a 3 to 4 year turnaround time for these different entries in the series. And the last one, Like a Dragon, came out January 2020 in Japan. So we're at least coming up on the point where you would expect Sega and RGG to maybe talk about what's happening next in the series. But I really enjoyed Like a Dragon, so yeah, I'd love to see what's next for Ichiban and his crew. So exciting stuff there. I guess they'll maybe be talking about this before the end of the year, but I guess we'll see. Also, we did have the update for different games with PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium tier. And in fact, PlayStation just had another game they dropped into the Classics library, sort of last minute. Let's take a look here. Of course, Stray is part of that. If you were curious about the game and you have extra premium, you can just jump on the PlayStation Store and download that, add it to your library immediately. Otherwise, Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrated, Marvel's Avengers, a whole bunch of Assassin's Creed, and some Saints Row games thrown in there. But then we take a look at the Classics lineup. We have Loco Roco Midnight Carnival, No Heroes Allowed, and Echo Shift. Echo Shift was the game that was just kind of added in at the last minute, and PlayStation announced it on Twitter. So that's 3 PlayStation portable games going in, which is fine because there was like one PSP game before, but like none of this stuff is really like exciting, I would say, for premium members who are paying the highest tier, specifically for the Classics. I mean, sure, you can stream PS3 games, but to me, looking at that extra tier, I think that's still the one that's worth picking up right now, and then just hoping Sony can come up with some more compelling titles for that Classics library. It's hard to believe that with all the PS1 games, all the PS2 games, and the PSP games, they wouldn't be able to come up with at least one big game they can put on the, on the front card and be like, look at this, Metal Gear Solid is here, or just anything in the PSP or PS2 library. But I guess we'll see if they have anything up their sleeves going into August. Oh, and we did get the release date for No More Heroes 3, as it is making its way to other platforms like the Xbox and PlayStation. There was an entire trailer that was released as well, showing off some better looking visuals and improved frame rate, but we can see it here. No More Heroes 3 will be releasing on the PlayStation 5, PS4, Xbox Series X, S, Xbox One, and Steam October 11th. And this is a game I enjoyed on the Switch, despite some of the performance issues and the overworld, which just existed for some reason. I don't know, but it was certainly a zany, out there storyline, but it was good fun. So I recommend picking this one up. I am going to grab it, I think, on the PlayStation 5 and go through it again there and see how it looks in, 4K and higher frame rate and all that. But if you missed it out on the Switch, definitely take a look at this one when it releases in October. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Nintendo and some updates they had for us. We'll start with the eShop closure for the 3DS and the Wii U, which we found out about earlier this year, and we basically know, okay, we have, at that time, a little over a year before these stores are just completely shut down for any new purchases, but re-downloads would continue for any of your current purchases that you had already made. Let's head over here, though. This was from Nintendo of America on Twitter, saying updates on the discontinuation of eShop for Wii U and Nintendo 3DS family systems. As of August 29th, 2022, it will no longer be possible to add funds. As of March 27th, 2023, purchases will no longer be available. Now, obviously, this has a lot of people frustrated because you're seeing the 3DS and the Wii U eShops getting closed down, with the 3DS being 11 or 12 years old then, and the Wii U being like 11 years old. It is pretty quick to just start shutting the storefront down for purchases, and they did go a little further here, Nintendo of America did, saying even after March 27th, 2023, and for the foreseeable future, it will still be possible to re-download games and DLC, receive software updates, and enjoy online play on Wii U consoles and Nintendo 3DS systems. By the way, I think that's the next thing to go, is the online play for the Wii U and the 3DS, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's maybe a year later, so like in 2024, we hear about all of that getting sunset. But the one that's concerning is the foreseeable future part of this when it comes to re-downloading your games and DLC, because we saw what happened with the Wii and the DSi, where for months you couldn't re-download any of your purchases, and the digital storefront has been something that people have been curious how it would be handled as we got towards end of life for many systems like the PS3, the Xbox 360, right, the PSP and the Vita, because the idea of a digital storefront for consoles is still kind of a newer thing, right? I mean, came around 2005, 2006, so it's been, what, 15 or 16 years now since it really came about, and it's something I think these companies, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, are trying to wrestle with, because like if you're looking at Nintendo now, they have this new account system. And then they're looking at the Wii U and the 3DS that are not part of this account system that they seem to want to push forward now, I hope, to their next generation, where our purchases will follow, which is the biggest thing, because the fact that they didn't set that up for the Wii, I mean, that's why people ended up buying a Nintendo 64 game or a Super Nintendo game like 3 or 4 times. I mean, we saw Sony attempt to shut down the PS3, the PSP, and the Vita, and while they decided to keep at it with the PSP, they reversed course on the Vita and the PlayStation 3, and now they're watching Nintendo just say, no, we're doing it, we're shutting all this stuff down, doesn't matter. So I assume Sony will reverse course then, and we'll hear about how the PS3 and the Vita are getting shut down most likely sometime next year. And obviously people are trying to make heads or tails of this. Why is Nintendo shutting down the stores for the 3DS and the Wii U? And a lot of it does come down, I'm sure, to expenses and the idea of having to do payment processing for these different stores. Nintendo, being a corporation, looks at the bottom line and decides where they can cut down on any kind of expenses to make the most money. But I think in Nintendo's case, there's also that idea of control and pushing you towards the Switch and this account system that they've really talked about with investors quite frequently as being a big focus for them going forward. And unfortunately, the Wii U and the 3DS are not really part of that, so we got to figure out a way to get people off of that storefront and onto the Switches. And I mean, the easiest way to do that is just shut it down. But at this point, I mean, you're just going to want to look around at any of the digital games that you'd want to pick up, because some of those are only available on those certain eShops, and once they're gone, unless obviously you soft mod and just go online and just download the different things, which, I mean, it's hard to make a case why you wouldn't then, if Nintendo's just taking it away and not giving you any other options. But that's kind of where we are. I browse around the eShop, pick out some of the stuff you would like to still have access to after the stores close, or deal with the physical market, which I'm sure is going to get even more out of control next year. Next up, let's talk about Mario Strikers Battle League, as it is getting its first content update. And Nintendo did say they would be doing this before it had launched, so we already had an idea it was going to go along the same lines as like Mario Tennis or Mario Golf. And now it looks like they're adding a couple of characters, new stadium, and some new gear. We can see this posted up over on Nintendo's website, starting with Daisy, who was a character that people were requesting quite heavily before the game came out. And hey, look at that. They threw all this together in like a month. That is a record time. I'm sure they didn't hold any of this back. But we also have Shy Guy, which I didn't really see anyone request Shy Guy, but yeah, it's kind of fun. Just go and throw that in there. And then night-themed gear and Desert Ruin Stadium. They also shared, as being Nintendo of Europe, a roadmap, which, I mean, nothing says modern gaming like some sort of roadmap to give you an idea as to when content's releasing. There will be 2 other big updates for this game throughout the rest of this year, with Wave 2 and Wave 3 having their own set of boxes, which I can only determine the top box are just characters, or one character, and then the bottom boxes would be things like gear, stadiums, items. I'm sure other things will be added in there. But unfortunately, I don't think any of these boxes are just going to say online in general. And that's sort of what this game needs. I understand it's very content deficient right now. There's just not a lot going on in this game, but I don't think they're all of a sudden going to add a single player to it. At this time, they've made the decision to focus primarily on it being a multiplayer first game, and unfortunately, they don't have the basics figured out when it comes to playing online with your friends, since you can only have 2 different Switch systems inside a lobby to then search online and matchmake, despite you having a 20-person club. It's weird. So to me, it's expected with these updates, but I would like to one day log on Twitter and see Nintendo announce that they've figured out the online setup with Mario Strikers to allow 4 different Switch systems to team up with matchmaking and go online and play against other people, so you're not left with 2 computer AI companions that don't seem to really know what to do when someone's charging up for a super strike in front of them. Next up, let's talk about PlatinumGames and a new addition to the leadership there that has people really wondering about the future of PlatinumGames, since this person is from Nintendo. Let's take a look here. This is posted up over on Twitter from Ishan saying, according to Famitsu, PlatinumGames has a new vice president, Takao Yamane, who was previously general manager licensing department at Nintendo, as well as managing director of sales planning and strategy at Nintendo of Europe. And apparently there's an interview that's going to be coming up explaining this a bit further. The thing that's interesting about this is Yamane was at Nintendo for more than 25 years. And if you look at sort of the structure now at PlatinumGames, the president is Inaba, vice president, we have Kamiya, and then vice president and CBO, Yamane. And I'll admit, it is a little weird that Yamane would leave Nintendo, which, I mean, after 25 years, it's probably a pretty comfortable job there, to go to Platinum. I mean, you figure, okay, maybe the money's better, maybe there's just more opportunity there to steer the ship. But still, like, PlatinumGames is an interesting studio as it is now, considering they don't really own any intellectual properties. They have, like, Soul Cresta, but, like, Astral Chain is not theirs. Bayonetta's not theirs. Babylon's Fall, fortunately, not theirs. They do have, like, Wonderful 101, I guess, and apparently Nintendo just sort of gave that up for them. Maybe it's just because of the history they've had. It was more of like a gesture of goodwill. But the biggest thing Platinum needs to do is work on their own intellectual property. And that is kind of where Tencent comes in, is Tencent essentially funded this Project GG that Platinum is really, really gung-ho about, and it does appear it's going to be a live service game, which hopefully is not a live service game like Babylon's Fall. Hopefully it is indeed like this unique concept that they keep talking about without actually talking about it. Now, Kamiya did mention that the investment from Tencent in order to do this wasn't Tencent just buying Platinum in general and they just work for them. It was apparently an investment with the terms being, hey, if you create a good IP that Platinum owns, we want first dibs and priority on you developing like a cell phone version of that game that we can publish and have some form of ownership over. So we'll see what happens with Project GG, but I will admit, Nintendo, a person from Nintendo who has such a storied history there, moving over to PlatinumGames, it does make you wonder about the relationship between Platinum and Nintendo, since, I mean, when it comes to a lot of these acquisitions that are brought up, Platinum is one that continues to come up, and at times they do it to themselves by really, I mean, saying, hey, we don't necessarily want to be acquired, but I mean, if the right offer was made, we would definitely think about it. But what's Platinum really worth anyway if they don't have any big time intellectual property? At that point, you're just kind of bringing in a workforce, and yeah, they can come up with some pretty cool ideas for games, but then other times they'll stumble, especially with something like a live service Babylon's Fall. So I think everything comes down to Project GG for them. If it comes out and it's very lucrative, it makes them a bunch of money and is highly rated, then I think they're in good shape. If it comes out and it flops, I think Platinum may be in trouble. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Advanced Wars Reboot Camp 1+2. This is a game that was supposed to have been out months ago, but Nintendo decided to delay it due to the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. They just looked at it and said, yeah, probably not the best time to release a game about an invading faction that is modeled after Russia, and that's like the first level that you go through. But still, people have been wondering, when is this game going to come out then? Like, when is the best time to release this thing if that conflict just continues on for a while? And I think that's kind of the situation Nintendo's in now, because they sort of have to hang out with this and just kind of wait for a good time. Well, it looks like we could potentially be waiting for a little while anyway, as people have started to notice that release dates and placeholders have moved into 2023 on many retail sites, and some have even received emails around this. For example, you can see this over on CoolShop, saying that it is now set for February 24th, 2023. I will admit, when I was in retail, we would have release dates a bit earlier for games, and I have a strong feeling that Advanced Wars, the release date's very fluid right now. Nintendo, like I said, just trying to place it at a better time. I thought they would just push it out the door in December and then just kind of move right into January after that. Again, it's difficult for Nintendo now because they're trying to navigate this, obviously, from a PR standpoint. But to me, you're going to have to release the game eventually. So do you release it as we get towards the end of this year and then just try to get into 2023 quickly towards when you start talking about Breath of the Wild 2 and all of this? Or do you really hold it into 2023, hoping that the conflict between Russia and Ukraine resolves by then? It's either way, you're just kind of sitting on a game that's been done for a little while, and I don't think they're doing any extra work to it. I think they're legitimately just sitting on it right now. So I guess we'll see if Nintendo even mentions that it's going to 2023, because at this point, we just know it's delayed indefinitely. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, do you think PlatinumGames will be acquired by another company? 56% said yes, but probably further down the line, and then 21% said it'll happen in the next 12 months. And 24% said no, Platinum will stay independent. I wouldn't be shocked if one day we woke up and it was like, yeah, PlatinumGames has been acquired by, Microsoft, by Nintendo, by a larger company, a larger publisher, right? Like, that wouldn't shock me, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, mostly because I think we have to see what happens with Project GG. If PlatinumGames can come up with a new original intellectual property that catches on and blows up online, like even like a Fortnite or even like a Destiny or something, I think they'll be fine going forward. And in fact, they may stop doing work for other publishers and just focus on their own intellectual properties, which is something that they haven't been able to do well. They had to kickstart Wonderful 101. That should tell you all you need to know about PlatinumGames and kind of where they are with that. So we'll see what happens with Project GG. I think it's been in development for like 2 or 3 years, so I assume next year we're going to see what Platinum has. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Mero saying, if the Activision Blizzard deal is wrapping up, my initial thought to what's next isn't about a new acquisition. Instead, I'm thinking that when it becomes official, Microsoft can then finally start managing the company. And when that happens, what changes will we see? What announcements regarding the company will be made? Logistics holds back what they are allowed to do together. When that issue goes away, what will the relationship look like? That is a great question, actually, because right now Microsoft is being very vague about what their plans are since the deal hasn't gone through, and they can't be very definitive. I'd like to think that as soon as that deal closes, on like a Wednesday, the following week, we just hear about different things happening already, right? Like, I assume Bobby Kotick, he's just out. Like, trust me, he'll get paid hundreds of millions of dollars to leave, but at least he'll be out of the picture. And if Phil Spencer comes in, all the employees, the heads there have to then answer directly to him. That alone could be a morale boost. And then obviously Microsoft changing, altering, and hopefully having a positive impact on the culture within Activision Blizzard is all stuff that can just do better for that studio all the way around. And who knows, maybe we see some very creative things come out of there rather than just a Call of Duty game every single year. But first, they have to get that deal closed before we see anything definitive come out about it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here. Today was the 3DS and Wii U shops closing down like 11 or 12 years after they were introduced. And then also, what about PlatinumGames? We see this person from Nintendo with a storied history coming over to serve as vice president. What do you think the future of PlatinumGames really looks like? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.